Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing a video that a lot of you asked me about and a lot of people ask me questions about, and that is, what do I do with my piercings when I go to work? And the reason why I'm making this video, because I work in a establishment where piercings are very much looked down upon and piercings are not a part of the dress code. And since I do have quite a few ear piercings and a couple nose piercings, a lot of people want to know, what I do to hide them. Do I take them out? Do I leave them in? And I'm going to be talking about ear piercing retainers, especially in this video. The main reason being is because I actually got written up for the very first time ever and actually sent home for 2 weeks because of my ear piercings and because I had my ear piercings in and I got in trouble for them. So I basically have no other choice than to either wear a retainer or either get fired or quit my job. So since getting written up and being sent home for that lengthy amount of time, I really kind of sat down and played around with ear piercing retainers. As you can very obviously see, a lot of my ear piercings are missing, which they're not. They do have retainers in them, and I'm just going to be talking a little bit about ear piercing retainers, how to put them in, where I got mine, what gauge they are, how they work, just things like that. Basically, the dress code at my work as far as piercings are concerned is you can have 2 ear piercings in each ear, and then facial piercings, you can have 1 facial piercing, and that is either 1 nose stud or 1 eyebrow. You cannot have more than 1 facial piercing. It cannot be a hoop. It has to be a very small stud, and you can either have one or the other. So as you guys know, before I got my job where I work now, I used to have a ton of facial piercings. I had my lip pierced, I had my eyebrow pierced, I had my septum, 2 nose piercings, and back in the day when I just did YouTube for a job, that was probably the best time of my life because I could look the way I wanted to. Nobody would write me up, nobody would yell at me, nobody judged me. It was just glorious. And then after getting a job in the real world, it was kind of a very rude awakening on how society looks at people who have body modifications. I just spit, that was nice. And it is very sad, and it's very, very discouraging to, wake up in the morning and have to completely change the way you look because an establishment doesn't want you to look a certain way. It's very, very sad, and especially in today's society when we encourage people to be who they want to be, express who they want to be, look the way they want to look, and then you go into a place and they tell you you can't look a certain way. It's just kind of like a backhanded thing, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm just going to be talking about what I do with my piercings, how I put in my ear piercing retainers, and all that good stuff. So, we'll start on my face. On my face right now, I do only have 2 nostril piercings, and since we're only allowed to have 1 in at a time, I do have a nose piercing retainer, which I did do a video on my channel as well if you want to check it out, but I got a pack of 4 of them from Amazon, and they are 20 gauge. They're just a little tiny plastic thing, as you can see in there. Hopefully you can see that okay. And basically you just kind of take out your nose ring and slide it in, and basically the whole purpose of a retainer is it's supposed to keep the piercing open but not have it visible. Now, the thing with piercing retainers, in my own personal opinion, I don't know if this is just because I like modifications, but I feel like piercing retainers are way more noticeable and way more distracting and way more prone to fall out than actual body piercing jewelry. That's just me. A lot of people feel differently, but that's just how I feel. So when I go to work, I will simply just take out one of my nose piercings, and usually I'll take out the front one. The reason being for that is because I've had this one the longest, so it's less likely to get irritated, and then I'll just leave the second one in. So that's what I do for my nose piercings. I do have my tongue pierced as well. I do leave that in for work because you just can't really see it when I'm speaking to you, and especially when I'm working and we're busy, like I'm not walking around like, you know what I mean? So like my tongue piercing stays in. I don't put a retainer in it. I do have a retainer for my tongue piercing, but it's very, very painful. It's very uncomfortable, and it never stays in, so I never wear it because I would rather go to work and do my job rather than go to work and start choking, you know what I mean? So I do leave my tongue piercing in 100% 24/7, 365 days a year, just because you can't really see it all that often when I'm talking. I mean, you can a little bit, but it's not like anyone's gonna stop you mid-conversation and be like, what's in your mouth? You know, that doesn't happen. And then as far as my ears go, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 in this ear, and then I have 6 in this ear. So I have quite a lot of ear piercings, and when it comes time to, you know, take them out when I have to go to work, it is very, very time consuming. So what I do with my lobe piercings, I simply just take those out and leave them out. I've had these pierced for years and years, so I don't have to put retainers in them. Basically all I wear in those are just these little studs usually that just look like this, and then occasionally, like if I'm working a long week or whatever, I'll just simply go through and stick the earring in each of them to make sure that they're still open. But when I'm at work, you know, I don't wear like retainers in them at all. I just leave them out all the time. But I'll usually just stick the earring through like that to make sure that it's still open. I did have one instance where I worked a very, very long week. I think I worked like 40 hours that week, and I didn't have my lobe piercings in at all, and this third lobe in my ear actually closed up, which was very, very, very frustrating. I was not very happy, so I had to push the earring through and technically re-pierce my ear because it had closed up. So that's why I kind of go through every day and stick it in each of my lobe piercings to make sure that they're still open, because I obviously don't want to lose them, but I don't want to wear retainers in them. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know. And then for all of my other ear piercings that are not lobe piercings, I will put retainers in them. So as you can see, I have 2 over here and I have 1 over here. So because we are allowed 2 in each ear. So I will keep this one in and my date, obviously. And then this one, I will keep this forward helix and my rook piercing right here. So 2 in each ear. Totally allowed to get away with that, but the other ones I have to hide. And these ones are not ready to be left open without a retainer because they will close up. Now, the reasoning for why I chose these piercings to put retainers in, this forward helix, I decided to put a retainer in because I've had it the longest. This one is still somewhat new. I mean, it's not really new, but I'd rather put a retainer in the one that's been there a while. Same with my tragus. I've had that pierced for a very long time, so I will put a retainer in that one as well. And same with this ear. I will put the retainer in this one because I've had it the longest. And this one always tends to give me a hard time, so I will leave the jewelry in this one, put the retainer in that one. Sorry, my ears are gonna turn quite red because I'm touching them so much. But basically, let me just show you what the retainer looks like. So it just looks like this. It is just a little plastic. It's very, very flexible piece of plastic that you put in your piercing. And then it also comes with this little, hopefully you can see that, this little like circle type thing, which is supposed to keep the retainer in place without falling out. But I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you, this thing falls off all the time, so I don't even bother with these half the time. And I got an entire baggie full from Amazon, and these are 16 gauge piercing retainers. These can be used for lip, nose, ear, etc. You can use these for whatever you want. So that's basically the background on my piercing retainers. Now I'm just going to basically show you how I take them out and put them in. So to take them out, it's very, very easy. You just simply pull out and you have the retainer right here, and you can very obviously see the piercing hole right there. So when it comes time to put them in, I usually have the little flat head facing like so it's pressed up against my ear, so I'll put it in this way. So all I do is I basically just find the hole and just kind of push it through. It is a little bit painful just because it's a little bit sharp on the end and there's like a little groove. So when you do put these in, just make sure that you are being really, really careful. Same with this one up here. You just pull it out like that and you have the hole right there, which as you can see when I put the retainer in this one, it got very, very irritated and bleeding, but I kind of have to deal with it or I will get fired. So then when you put it in, just find the hole and very, very carefully push it through like that. One of the biggest cons about ear piercing retainers is they do fall out very, very easily. Especially when I'm sleeping, I find myself waking up several times in the middle of the night to make sure that they're in and make sure that they're secure, but they do fall out very very easily. So that's just a little bit of a background on how I hide my piercings for work and what I do for them and what I put in them, all that good stuff. And then when I do have like a few days off, obviously I will put my jewelry back in and make sure everything that is cleaned, and I'll wash the jewelry and the retainers and all that good stuff as well. Because, you know, if you're constantly taking something in and out of your ear all the time, it's gonna get very irritated very quickly. So that's just one thing to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, hopefully this video was helpful to some of you, and hopefully it answered some of your questions. If you have any further questions about my piercings or anything like that, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I will do my very best to get to your question as soon as possible. I do have comments on all my videos, all on approval, so I will be able to see your question and I will be able to answer it that way. I don't have as much time to answer every single comment, but I will try my very, very hardest to answer all of your questions for you guys. But hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, please give a huge thumbs up for me, and don't forget to go down and subscribe to my channel. But as always, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Bye!